167, and each morning I wake up, I have coffee with my wife, and then I go through, before I start my day, I go through a list of reminders that I have. It's almost like a list of weapons, or choosing my weapon for the day to scare off the old person who's knocking on the door. Each day, that old person is still there, but it's up to me to be in the right state of consciousness, falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, doing everything that I have to do. And I keep this list of reminders, and every day it seems like there's a different reminder that works. Like something that worked last Tuesday might work today, but won't work tomorrow. It's like one of those things. So that's why I keep a list. If you're not doing this, you may want to start, okay? But I'm going to share this list of reminders today. But today was one of those days, and they are few and far between, but today was one of those days where nothing on my list was working. None of these weapons, none of these reminders were working, and that knock at the door was getting louder and louder and louder. And so, what do? When these days come, is I completely detach. I completely detach because I realize that's what I have to do in this moment. I have to completely detach, and I have to wait for the idea to come from my higher mind, for that reminder, that new weapon to come from my higher mind. I don't think, I don't try to figure out what the reminder is. I just wait to receive it. I wait for the package to be delivered. And then once it's delivered, I know it right away. And so today, I was just waiting, detaching. The old person was there, talking the talk in my ear, trying to convince me to feel, come join me in that old state of consciousness. But detached, it came to me. And it was a phrase. Sometimes it's different, but it was a phrase. And it was, at one point, I just said, you know what? I'm doing the best I can. There's nothing else I can do. I'm doing the best I can. And it wasn't in a defensive way. It was in an assertive, authoritative way, a confident way. And as soon as I said it, the old person disappeared. Because what can it say after that? I am doing the best I can. I'm falling asleep in the wish fulfilled every single night. I'm making videos talking about this stuff every single day. I'm applying techniques. I'm doing whatever I can to stay present. And there's nothing else that I can do right now. And so I'm doing the best I can. And so where I am right now, everyone wants to be further along. Sometimes I feel like I should be further. And that's what he was trying to say to me today. If this worked, you would have your $10 million already. You would have 30 million in the bank. You would have your $10 million house. You would have all these things. You would have 1 million YouTube subscribers. You would be so much further along. And I could have easily agreed with him, but I know better. And that's the thing. That's why it's so important to just keep doing this stuff, because you know. And so when I know, even when he comes in and I don't have the right weapon, I know the weapon's coming. But you have to know, in order to use this and to have this work for you, this reminder, you have to know that you're doing the best you can do. Are you doing the best you can do? Are you falling asleep in the wish fulfilled every single night? Are you making that the top priority? Are you trying to stay present each day as much as possible? Are you watching these videos and like listening? Does it resonate with you? If it's resonating with you, are you applying what you're hearing here? Or are you just listening? Because if you're just listening, you're not doing the best you can. If you're not applying, you're not doing the best you can. And if your higher mind is sending you this video, because if you're watching this right now, there's a reason why you're watching it. There's a reason why you're here. And your higher mind is not going to send you anything else until you start applying what it's sending you. What would be the point of that? Action, taking action on something that's resonating with you, or something that seems exciting, or something that you feel like is going to work, is you communicating to the higher mind, I heard you. Otherwise, the higher mind is just going to be like, okay, I'll just wait. I'll just wait, because nope, taking action, nope, not doing anything. And so I'm doing the best I can was a reminder that worked for me today. And I want to share, I thought it would be cool to share the rest of my list. Some of these you've already heard before. Some of these I've talked about, but some of them I don't think I have. And so I'm just going to share the list right now. Okay, this is my list I go through each day. And as I said, most of the time, one of these will work. But sometimes I have to wait for a new one. All right. So I'm doing the best I can. I just talked about shine your light. Okay, this is something that I do like internally. It's like I have this image in my mind, and I see myself as like the sun, and I'm just like illuminating light. And so everything that I come into contact with, every person, every animal, anything I'm touching, I'm feeling as if I am like the sun, like I am a beam of light, and anything that I come into contact with, I am improving that thing. And so there are days that works. It's a tough one, though, to just continue doing the entire day. I can do it for moments, and sometimes if that old person's there, it'll work just at the beginning of the day, and that will be enough. All right? Sometimes I use this, and Shadow Flare talked about this. This worked for him yesterday. He said he was in a meditation and he was jittery, and he said to himself, what's the rush? I talked about that in the challenge a couple weeks ago. And so he was able to use that yesterday, and he said to himself, what's the rush? When you realize and you know that you're an eternal being, and basically this is just a dream, and when you go to sleep, it's really you waking up. And when you wake up here, it's you sleeping. It's your soul sleeping. It's like reversed. And so when you realize, how this all works, it's like, why am I trying to rush through this? Like, what is the rush? Where am I trying to get to? Because there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to get to. And so what's the rush works. It's worked for me, and it's worked for a couple other people who did the challenge. They still talk about it, and this was weeks ago. And then sometimes, just to kind of piggyback off of that, and I don't think I've mentioned this before, I will move like super slow, because when you move super slow, like right now, all you can think about is moving super slow. Try and do it by yourself. That's what you're focused on, because as soon as you stop focusing on moving super slow, you move like you normally move. So it takes your whole focus to move super slow, and that will immediately bring you into the present moment. Again, I haven't shared that one before. It's a little different, all right? But I like to think of it as like Neo in the Matrix, like where he's just like everything's just moving like really slow, and he's picking the bullets from the air. And so from his perspective, he's just, it seems like everything's moving fast for everybody else, but for him it's slow. So the other thing, sometimes all I have to say is just stop thinking to myself. That's a reminder. Stop thinking. It's the opposite. Most people say be present, but sometimes stop thinking just works because you're giving an order to yourself. Like, stop thinking. It's not my work to think. It's my work to perceive. And so that was the next one. My job is to perceive. Sometimes that works. Sometimes I'm talking about the same thing, but it's just different words work that day. And so sometimes stop thinking works, and sometimes I just need to know, okay, my job is to perceive. Because the thinking is what gets you, that's where the old person comes in. When you're in the present moment, that old person's not there. And so if you can tell yourself, my job is to perceive, sometimes that's all you need all I need for the day. Next, I repeatedly ask myself this question: what feels like the most exciting thing I can do right now? So this works sometimes because, again, when you're asking yourself questions, that's where your focus goes. And so if you're focused on these questions and asking yourself positive questions like this, what's the most exciting thing I can do right now? That's where your focus goes. So the dormant mind, the mind that's just kind of like, scrolling through Facebook or scrolling through YouTube or just scrolling or just watching TV, that's when the old person will come in, because you're not really focused on anything. You're just lackadaisical and just kind of just next, if the universe, sometimes I just have to remind myself about this, is sometimes, and this is what I talked about when I was at my, kind of darkest hour, where I was like in that deep depression on April 3rd, I was blaming the universe. I was cursing at the universe, but this is something that prevents me from probably ever doing that again. Is I had this realization that if the universe wasn't on my side, or if it wasn't on your side, you wouldn't exist. You wouldn't be here. Like, think about that. Really sit on that. Like, you wouldn't be here. There would be no reason for you to be here. The reason you're here should show you that is because the universe is supporting you. It puts you here. So sometimes that works. This I've talked about a whole bunch. Everything's happening for you. Everything is happening for you. So anything that happens is for you. If it looks bad, that's because, as I've talked about, and you have a negative emotion, that negative emotion is just shining a light on the fact that you need to change that belief. You have to figure out what belief is attached to that emotion, that negative feeling. Why are you feeling this way right now? And realize that's where you need to change. Gain the wisdom. Take the wisdom from that. What belief do I have right now that's not serving me? Because if it was serving me, I wouldn't feel this negative emotion. All right. So everything is happening for you. You're creating it all. This one I've talked about. I am John effing Hedgepeth. Sometimes that's all I have to say. And it's like, I do that, especially when I have some things that I really need to take care of and I have to be assertive that day. I'll just remind myself, I'm John effing Hedgepeth. It's just like what I talked about in that episode of Chuck. I'm Alexei Volkov. You're Alexei Volkov. I'm John effing Hedgepeth, or whoever, whatever your name is. If you're going into an interview or an important meeting, you just look yourself in the mirror. God damn it. I'm John Hedgepeth. Like, let's go. I'm worthy. These people should be like so stoked that they're about to have my 100% attention, and they're about to have the opportunity to meet me and be in my presence. And piggybacked on that is I remind myself I'm a leader. Sometimes when I go in to make these videos, you know, that tremble that I've talked about before, it goes away when I remind myself I'm a leader. And you're a leader too. We're all leaders. But sometimes you have to remind yourself. It's just about who remembers that they're a leader. Do you remind yourself you're a leader? You're a creator. This one I've talked about a lot recently. Circumstances don't matter. Only your state of being matters. And so I have mentioned this a bunch of times, but if you take it a step further, circumstances don't materialize instead of matters. It is only your state of being that materializes. So, as we've talked about, this is the projection, this is the projection. That would be like saying the projection creates the projector, saying that circumstances materialize. Your state of being doesn't materialize from your circumstances. Your circumstances materialize from your state of being. And we've been taught, as you know, full well and good, like I do, I've learned it the opposite way. I've always thought that I have to, this is happening, so I have to do this. When in fact, it's always been the other way around. You are creating it all. Your state of being is the most important thing. Forget about what you're seeing. If what you're seeing right now isn't to your liking, forget about it. Just block it out. It doesn't matter. Only your state of being matters. And when you start realizing that and just feeling great, no matter if you just stepped in a pile of shit, you just laugh at it. You just be like, circumstances don't matter. It's only my state of being that matters. And you do that over and over and over again, life just keeps getting better and better and better. You still have challenges like I had today and like I have every now and then, but the challenges are what? Opportunities. They're not problems. I don't really see it as challenges either. I see it as an opportunity to level up. This is a level up day for me. This I've talked about in different words. Don't worry about the how or the when. Okay, so I wrote down, instead of don't worry about how or when, I just put zero insistence on outcomes and remain in a positive state regardless of the outcomes. Think about what happens if you can do that. I don't know what just happened with my voice, but think about what happens? If you just follow the thing that you're most excited about, because again, that's your higher mind talking to you, and whatever's the most exciting to you, that's what you should be doing in that moment. Sometimes it's, you don't figure out, like sometimes you have to like not think about what the most exciting is, but kind of feel for it a little bit. But if you're doing things like in my video that I said yesterday, the most exciting thing, if you're doing things that aren't exciting and you're thinking about, oh, I wish I was doing this instead of this, then you're not paying attention to your higher mind. And again, your higher mind's not going to send you those creative ideas that are going to change your life because you're not listening anyway. So zero insistence on the outcomes. So just do whatever's most exciting. And then, like I talked about in day trading, where it's like sometimes things don't work out the way I feel like I want them to, but my higher mind's got a better plan for me. And so I don't get attached to those outcomes anymore. I'm just like, okay, I guess, what's the wisdom I need to gain here? I don't worry about the outcomes. And that helps on some days. That one's a little more challenging, but it's, work in progress. Definitely a work in progress. And as I just talked about, there are no problems, only opportunities. I don't see anything as a problem anymore. I used to have tons of problems, but anytime a problem comes up now, I'm like, ooh, this is an opportunity. Like today, this is an opportunity to level up. Instead of problems, opportunities. It completely flips your perspective. Instead of seeing it as something negative and something, oh, I got to figure out, I got to take care of this problem. Now it's like, oh, an opportunity to move forward. And then last but not least, this is just a reminder, acting and knowing are synonymous. So think about anything that you know. Like if I get up right now, I don't have to think about whether this floor is going to hold me. Or when I walk down the steps, if the steps are going to crumble when I walk down the steps. I just know that they're going to hold me, and so I don't even think about it. And so I act with no thinking. When you know something, I'm losing my voice or something. When you know something, you act without thinking. When you know. So if you have to think about whether or not to do something, that's where you kind of want to hold off because you don't know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to think about it. So I think that's the first time I've talked about that on here, but that's my current list. I do have other things that sometimes I'll flip back in pages, but these have worked for me recently in the state of consciousness that I'm currently in. But as I said, sometimes, there's days where you're just adding to it. And that's what today was. I'm doing the best I can. Especially third time with the voice. All right. So we're going to end the video, but I want to mention the Lion's Den real quick. Brent, Kate, Shadow Flare, and Nora all checked in last night, all falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, all changing their lives. Day 167 in the books. I'll see you tomorrow, day 168. Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Have a great night.